Request of Vice President Radke. I'll call the Thursday, June 6, 2024 meeting to order at 5 p.m. Request the clerk to call the roll, please.
Trustee Brendan. Here. Trustee Radke.
Absent.
Trustee Zerflu.
Here.
And President Mansell.
I am sitting in.
Okay, if there's no objections, I'm going to take 3, 8, and 4 as a consent agenda to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting and the meeting minutes from May 9th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Grundon, second by Mansell. Discussion. Hearing no request to speak. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public comments on agenda items. Do we have anybody in that's to speak on the web?
Scott, did you want to say anything? I'm going with a no.
Eric?
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, thanks.
Who's that?
Scott Stewart.
I have no comments. Lon didn't tell me anything that he wanted to be brought up. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the monthly bills, journal entries, and the previous month, from the previous month, and the financial report.
So moved.
Moved by Mansell, second by Grundon. Any discussion? Hearing no request to speak. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Before we get into item number 8, we down on items 10 and 11. I just want to point out what my direction is going to be when we get there. We're going to be talking about the village administrator position and the police chief position. Private conversation with Dwayne. This has got to be generic and general because it's still a ways out there and nothing to really get. In other words, long story short, you all can make comments and listen to what direction Dwayne wants to go with it or whatever. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Dwayne, take number 8 away.
On number 8, basically, the finance committee has been working, and the public works committee has been working on our process with the TIF district. And final the projects in it too. And so is Diane and Ben, and they've done a good job putting it together. So on June 13th, we are meeting with the Joint Review Board. And in the Joint Review Board, one of our major requests are that we're going to be making amendments to several of our projects that are in our TIF plan. Which
meeting, that's all.
No, they don't have that meeting anymore. That's going to be here.
Really?
Yeah, they had Diane in it.
Their tip is that.
So we're gonna have our own agenda here. And basically, the big item and that we're taking to, the village is taking to the Joint Review Board is to amend the projects that we have in our project plan that has been put together. And basically, the projects that we're amending to are the ones that have been discussed in public works and also finance. And I think I think it came to the village board that they put together. So main gist of this process is to, I have a draft that it's called, here, it's part of the TIF, it's infrastructure amendment 6/11/2024. The reason it has that date, because that's a date the village board meets. And I'm making sure I bring this would be going to the village board, and the village board approves this. When they approve this, I have that documentation going to the Joint Review Board, indicating that this is what the village board wants to do in the review of the projects. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4-page document. I don't know if it's in color, but the last page is where it is a motion second and documentation by the Joint Review Board approving the changes. All your changes are not in red, but you can see the cross out ones.
Mhm.
And the main thing is you then go to another document that Diane and Ben put together, a very good done job on it. And it looks like this. And this document is all the projects that are going to be laid out that the TIF would be doing for the be completing, and then by doing these projects, approving this list of projects. These lists of projects then will be financed by the TIF district, And they're within our 1.5 mile of our TIF boundaries. But basically they're identified in our TIF plan. But what I'm doing specifically identifying them so that they are approved by the TIF review board. And then we would go forward with the project as Diane and Ben laid out for years. And you can see there how they're using the balance of the TIF district and then going through, and as the revenues come in, they'll be able to do the projects. And the way this is set up, I think it's done very well, that we don't have to do bonding or borrowing for the projects. And that's why I'm trying to get this to the joint review board so they can see what we're doing. So basically, oh, and then on your plan, it didn't show it, but it has colored in mine, is the project map where this is all occurring on the projects that Diane and Ben put out. We gotta look at mine, because the map, I looked at yours and it doesn't have any color on them, so they're all identified in this sheet. The color ones are going to the joint review board, but they're all the same project. Just to put a map together so they can see it where they all are, and within a 1/2 mile district. And there's an alley, a project gonna be is the alley behind the old post office. And that's gonna be, then there's also Market Avenue, and you see the change was supposed to be major construction, then as we're changing it back to a chip seal. And then we're doing all the project on 2nd Avenue, all the way to Edwards to the alley behind the Port Plaza.
2nd Street?
Second, I can be 2nd Avenue, it's called 2nd Street, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
2nd Street. Right here, from here, excuse me. I'm upside down now. Here, from Edwards all the way up behind the missile center, and that's it's listed in here, it broke out in this list, it's broken out, different portions of it. And that's, and very well laid out in that portion of it. The other thing then is going to be the alley behind us right here, Port Plaza. And then also Wisconsin Avenue was a major reconstruction project in the original plan. And we're only taking it down to a seal coat. So it doesn't, so what we're doing is changing the discussion of what those projects would be and put them to a different level. And so therefore these are all I want to get those to the joint review board. I'm asking you folks to make a motion to forward our amendment. I use infrastructure amendment 6/11/2024 to the village board for your recommended for they approve that. So when the village board approves it on the 11th, I have that documentation I can take along with me as the village board has approved it, this document, and then I feel there's more teeth in it than what helps. So we have a document in front of the joint review board. That's the first piece of this area. So any questions? I'll stop there. And of course, I got to change my memo. Don't worry about it. Memo is wrong. Diane just corrected me.
Kira, that's anything to say? So you're gonna need a motion to come out of this committee tonight?
To recommend.
Yes, and I am going to lead on you to verbalize that recommendation so the clerk can record it.
It'd be this will be motion by someone here to recommend to the village board to approve TIF number 2 infrastructure amendment 6.11.2024. That's it. I'll help you, Diane, later.
Okay, Diane, you have that?
And what that does is it's the document's gonna be going to the joint review board.
I'm comfortable making the motion to push it forward to the board.
As read,
Yes.
can you do a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Before we vote, I'd ask the clerk to read it back, please.
Okay, it's a motion to recommend to the village board to approve TIF number 2 infrastructure amendment 6.11.24.
Okay, Luann?
Mhm.
Okay, hearing no request to speak, all those in favor of the motion as read by the clerk signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, that motion carries.
There's a second part to this piece. When the joint review board meets, they usually have the members that are set aside, but there's always been a member, according to the rules of the joint review board, it's gonna be one member that's gonna be part of the village board. And
I did
some,
it many years.
huh?
As president, I did it many
Anyway,
years.
I'm president, and I realized that because when I was here before, you came to me with Pittsville. I looked at last year's process and it showed the administrator as the representative. I think Ray must have did that. And I know that you were not going because of your change of president. So basically, it's right here, it's recommend a village board member to be the village representative of the joint review board.
I was told my very first year that I went, that it has to be a board member.
Right. Now, I didn't know what happened. I saw things change. And Lon didn't know, and Lon knows a lot about this because he was working on the finance committee and so it can be you or it can be someone else. Just want to make sure we got an action on that. And if it's you, that's just fine because I want to make sure that we have documentation. So I wrote this up. And I can change it as a board member because I didn't want me to sign this. This is really, it's got to be a board member at the joint review board.
Okay, the chair is gonna make a motion to name Vice President Lon Radke as the member of the village representing us at the joint review board.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
It's cleanup.
Louder.
I'm sorry. I just got to say, I'm just trying to clean it up so we have
All
some.
those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 10. What?
Nope.
I'm
Number
sorry.
9. You missed number 9.
We missed number 9.
Mhm.
Oh, IT. Okay, go ahead.
What is on the agenda, the village has been working with Wood County's IT department and looking at upgrading our computerized system. We've been trying to get information from them. I put it on the agenda. I just got it after the agenda was out. And I looked at it and that's not in my wheelhouse. And basically I sent an email off to Eric to see if he'd be willing to review it, the information we got for it and to get a little more detail. We know certain things we want. I got a price now, I got the equipment, etc. But I also felt that I have to have someone who knows this background, assist me or assist us in reviewing the process.
So you want it reviewed by Eric and then
Then it's gonna come back. Now you got IT here at finance.
do you want it approved on this coming week?
No big hurry, no big hurry, because it's a document that we don't have the funds for in a budget, but I have to get everything in place, so.
If you have everything ready to go and Eric said, yeah, this looks good, you could have a special meeting of that committee before the board meeting. We've done it before. It's a one issue meeting.
I don't think timing's important. It's just that timing's not important.
Okay.
The second part of it is that it was the discussion on in this portion is the website. I've done a little bit of reviewing with our website manager here. It's Kim. And basically there's a lot of questions on it. The committee was, some members of the committee were looking at different portions of it. Instead, I think it'd be good if we put an internal subcommittee together, which would consist of mainly having Kim involved. She does her website portions of it. And not just us trying to figure, let our internal group work on it. And basically, I definitely want her involved. And we're
Who are
looking
you
at
thinking about?
Kim for sure. I was hoping Diana would join because Diane's internal staff, Diane knows a lot about it too, myself. And then any board member that really is into the website portion. The reason I'm saying that because I've been in other communities and I've seen where they took a change in a website and it's quite extensive, expensive. We wouldn't do it this year, but we ought to know. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, working in other communities by putting your agenda together, your reports, etc. A lot of them can now attach them as PDFs, and you can get them in the ahead of time. And what we lack here is us giving information, not all of us, before meeting. You can make decisions on. So that needs to be reviewed.
Well, the easiest way around that, Madam President, is for you to name the subcommittee, or Lon can do it as chairman of this committee. I'm going to abstain from doing that now.
I agree. That's just a report we want to do.
Yes, because I want the chair here to make that decision.
And that's why I have it on, but I don't, so I always say discussion and action, just discussion. That's all we're doing.
So when you're ready to move, just.
I understand.
Now can I go to number 11?
You can go to number 10.
10, okay. Without objection, why don't you take number 10 about your position and then ease into the police chief position and answer any questions that we might have, but unless the two other trustees disagree.
It's very simple. During our goal setting meeting, we had an alternative.
You and who?
During our goal setting and strategic
Okay.
planning meeting,
Okay.
there was alternatives thrown on a board.
Mhm,
And it's in your packet here now.
mhm,
And basically, it needs to be flushed out.
mhm.
And basically, and I thought it was an HR process.
Mhm.
And there are several things how to flush this out. I think it needs to be started.
Yeah,
And
and
then
you know
go through.
how I feel about a police chief serving as a village administrator. It's nothing but a conflict of interest, number one.
Well, we can
If
flush,
he
we can
has-
just cross that out as we go
He
through.
has- Well, it's, these two ladies have a vote also, but to me, it's whoever made that suggestion.
It's me. I said, we put these all on the wall.
I just don't know why you got, no. I
I've
mean,
seen it
if I had to
before.
be, Diane would have quit if she knew I was village administrator plus the chief of police. That's just my feelings, ladies.
Anyway, I just want to make sure they're here and just that I was looking, that needs to be flushed out. How do you want to do it? Do you want to do it in this committee? Do you want to do it as a side of the committee? And it needs to be flushed out, something to take, because I feel you need to make a decision before I walk out the door, and that's
Mhm.
very important.
Mhm.
So that's what this is for.
For me, I think it should be a committee of the whole, when we are discussing these two bigger, positions. But I do think we need to start narrowing it down, because let's just, if we go with, no village administrator, we need to restructure.
Well, all parts of this restructuring. Yep.
Right, so I think, and then getting employee feedback and then trying to, I
Mhm.
just don't want it to be a rushed, okay, well, it's November 1st and Dwayne's leaving December 1st. We need to,
That's all I'm doing.
and then if we would go a different route of either hiring somebody or assigning DPW as acting administrator, having him be a part of that, or anybody else being part of the budget process with Dwayne would be helpful. That's just my 2 cents for right now. But I mean, what are your
I
thoughts on
didn't
doing
hear
it?
any flushing sound on my comments.
But I mean, would you guys be more comfortable with a committee of the whole really sitting down and discussing it, or narrowing it down through FHR, then bringing it to committee of the whole?
Yeah, because here I go again. That's what the committee's for.
Mhm.
I think that changing it up is actually gonna change how we operate in a
Mhm.
really big way. And I wonder if there's some way that we can include in some kind of organized way, insight, feedback, and how does our village, how do the residents feel about potentially making these kinds of changes? And I think we almost need to have some numbers attached in some way what do we have to gain? What do we have to lose before we can even start to look at it much more? You know, what do the numbers look like for each scenario? What would that mean?
Are you talking for like how would we disperse, like, let's say we don't go with a village, how would we disperse
Right.
uh responsibilities and then pay, or what do you mean, like,
Well, like-
number wise?
The pros and cons, like what kind of money would be saved with one scenario? What could be
Okay.
gained with another?
I can work. I can
What
work
could
with-
we gain
I-
or lose in services? You know, what actually are we really looking at? Because I think before we start making any kind of screening one way or another, we need to know what exactly do these mean?
I can work on putting the pros and cons for each one of these. And I can also, and Diane knows a lot with portions of it too. I've been taught, I need to work with them anyway, Diane and Ben and there, because even it all affects everybody. And then when you do one of these, whatever alternative and pros and cons, then you also got to adjust your ordinances and you got to look at your structure. So I can put those all in for each one and there'll be a page for each one of them. And basically, if you want, I've done this before too, if you want a public information meeting, when we get all those pages done, you can make one and we're gonna have people can look at them. Here, if you want to go that far, and that's a project, and I've done those kind of projects.
I guess that, I think it's a good idea. I do think that maybe the FHR committee can, right, like, let's just say police chief administrator. I think if the FHR can narrow it down, be like, nope, we're not comfortable with that scenario whatsoever. And at least narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3 different scenarios to present to the public versus a whole page worth, that could be overwhelming. And a lot of work for Dwayne too, if he's
I
gonna,
can do the pros and cons on that one.
I failed to see one pro. In my 22 years in that office over there, you don't think that there would have been something that would have came up eventually about, yeah, police department got this, that, and the other thing again? And all of a sudden, something that had to be done can't be done because I'm in court for a serious trial and I'm gone. It just does not make sense. It would make more sense for a department head. It'd make more sense for Diane to be the village administrator / clerk / treasurer, to be honest with you. Because that job has a lot in common with her job. What does it have in common with law enforcement? Nothing.
Only reason to
Do
put
we
it
want to
on,
get a consensus right now? Because I align with, I don't think that aligns well, and I think we would have a great deal of difficulty with recruiting.
Meeting's over. Tiara agreed with me.
no, that is what I'm here for. We, that's what it's working on. That's one that the majority is crossed off. I want to spend time on it.
Right.
That's
and I
fine
think
with
if we
me.
do that, then he's not wasting time on
Yep.
it.
I'm
which
not
one
gonna
is it?
say it to prejudice them, but I know 2 other people that on the board that,
Doesn't matter. This is not, I'm just putting things on the wall.
you know, you were a handful when we played football against each other too.
Where is that one?
So is there anything, sorry, I'm not running a meeting, never mind.
Go ahead.
I mean, is there anything else between the 3 of us that just like looks like, nope, don't wanna, I mean, that was one,
I
but
apologize, as you guys can tell, my vision, when I saw that,
There
I
it is.
forgot about everything else on the sheet.
No, that's why we have discussion. I don't know the agenda, because if you got a consensus, one me, no, it's good for me, because then I don't need to do any more work on it.
to me, the shared administrator, I can see the pros and the cons for both. Especially when it comes to potentially saving money and being able to share. My concern is if we share, then all of a sudden are we giving up time because now there's another issue burning in Grand Rapids or vice versa. Like, I want that person to be like, you were in Port Edwards on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You need to be, I mean, Grand Rapids is gonna have to wait, or they're gonna have to punt,
I
or
think that should be proposed.
That was number
Whatever.
2.
But I think it's important to go to pros and cons in that one.
Mhm.
You know, Saratoga and Grand Rapids never had a village administrator or township administrator. The board does acts on.
No,
that.
I got Rome down there.
Yeah,
Rome does, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are in a process. They're not replacing one either, so.
right. It just, that's my upfront concern with shared is there's too much
out of there.
blurred lines on that one.
If you want that out, all three of you should tell me.
I agree with the president.
You want to help?
Oh, without objection, go ahead, Eric.
Thank you. So having done this for 15 years in terms of organizational design change, and one thing in addition to pros and cons from a financial point of view, understanding how that changes the culture as well as the responsibilities would be a really important added piece. And if you want, I'd be glad to share perspectives on that with Dwayne during that process or whatever, but that it will change not only responsibilities, but it'll change the culture of how you guys work. And I think that's real important to consider as well as the financial.
And that's the
That's
part
part of
where I
pros and
think
cons.
we have to look at that, consider that, and make sure that what we're doing and why we're doing it, is aligned with our village values and yeah. The thing that strikes me, like, nothing personal, Dwayne, but when you're working 2 days a week, you're not marketing this village. You're not out trying to find funding. You're not able to do that simply because there's no time. I worry about making a change that will mean that we're not investing in the big picture. We're just trying to survive on declining revenue. We're just trying to survive. And if we're gonna go to survival mode, I mean, we're only, we're not gonna have the TIF in the long haul. We're not gonna have these different options. I think we need somebody that is 100%. There's grants, there's money. That's the biggest thing that I would want from an administrator, is somebody that is going to figure out, find us the resources to preserve our culture, preserve our way of life and the way that we've been doing things. Without that, I think we're on a downward spiral that's kind of scary.
I agree with you. In the two items that we've struck out to,
Are you stuck out, Dylan? Okay.
the
Shared.
I hear you say it.
merging with it. I can tell you right now, if we had a joint person with the city of Nakusa, we're gonna be little brother. So, but
That's the same thing with
otherwise,
police.
you hit on the gist of where this is eventually gonna go, and that's do you get the guy with the degree on the wall, or is there somebody on staff that can get you through? But, the looking out for us in a good sense, there's gotta be a part of that.
Right.
And who can, and you have to have the knowledge too, or the experience to do that.
In
If
the
we
pro,
keep going the way we're going, we're just gonna be in survival mode.
in
Our
your,
standards are gonna decline.
and I know you're making a discussion now, but in your pros and cons, you're gonna lay all that out. You're gonna lay an organization piece out. That's the important piece. So you're kind of going in and say, I don't want this or the other one. Already you're saying, I'm not even gonna look at that. I'm not even looking at our structure. That's why I think I'm not saying we should have them in or not. It's up to your decision.
Well, I didn't say any of that.
I'm
I
not
said,
saying,
this is what my concern was.
yeah, but I'm trying to say, though, because you have that concern, I'm glad to hear it, because those
Not
are
to
show up
interrupt,
pros
but
and
this
cons.
guy's come to the door 3 times. Is he the cleaning person?
I have no idea.
See 'em.
I didn't see him either.
I think they usually
Got a
do
little
come
white
on
beard
Thursday.
and-
Could be.
I don't know.
I'll go out and interrogate him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Throw him
Anyway,
against a
Go
wall.
next door and get a badge.
I personally, everything on this list, I personally feel deserves discussion, except the 2 that are no longer on there, the police chief one and the joining another municipality. Otherwise, I think everything Dwayne personally speaking, should be there.
Mhm.
Not completely against sharing an administrator. I wonder if that might, I'm not necessarily for it, but I don't know if, I just wonder if that might be a bigger picture conversation. I don't know what it could or would look like. I'm
Like,
not necessarily for it. I'm just saying I'm not necessarily completely against it.
Yeah, I don't even think we should spend our time with it because you talk about being in survival mode. We can't compete with Grand Rapids or Nakusa. And sometimes survival mode should just be, let's get it
Well,
done.
in my concern, when Boz took over that job in Saratoga, a lot of his time was spent doing that kind of stuff when he was here. Even phone calls that maybe were just, he didn't plan on it. And I'm not saying it was intentional or whatever. It's really hard to keep separate those two things unless somebody wants to work 12, 18 hours a day. And at that point, I would much rather see a part-time one versus a shared one, because then if they're part-time and they're here, not full-time, but then shared, right? That's my qualm on that one, because I mean, with going through the office, it was evident.
Okay.
Anything else on that item?
This is what I was looking for,
All
to be
right,
honest with you.
number 11, quickly.
Well, number 11, again, there's a lot of things on this one. And if you want to not even look at some, it's fine,
Well,
but I think it's there for discussion.
I think your first discussion has got to be with the village president, the village administrator, and the chief of police.
I have no problem with that. If you want me to go for there next, that's exactly what I do.
And then report to FHR.
Yep, no problem. I kind of like that.
Is that okay, ladies?
Mhm.
This is another one for your discussion on employee and performance evaluations.
That was what Lon wanted me to put on the portion.
He share any of his?
Yeah, he wants to get that started, wants it done. They usually are done in May. And basically, I've had some feedback from a portion of it. If we're gonna be, doing some type of reorganization, we can do what raised them to pass is a really easy. And it says, well, okay, this is good, that's great, this is what you're gonna get for potentially getting 1985. Excuse me, 2025.
Oh,
I'm old.
1985. Oof.
2025. Basically, Diane and Ben, and I don't know Diane even put in, but Ben says, why would you even go through this if you're gonna do a structural change? Do your structural change, then you're gonna be doing more than just the evaluation of what you have now. So Lon wants that done. So I wish he was here to make that discussion. So, and I don't want to put the other side. There's always pros and cons.
Well, I hate to bring up the police part again, but there's some stuff in an employee evaluation that's good, a general one.
That's right.
And the chief of police would be more than happy, as I did, to share that with the board.
Mhm.
However, there's some things that are of a sacrosanct situation, we can't,
I already know that.
Well,
I already know that.
haven't we, at budget time, historically, we've had discussions with employees, like just gaining feedback, and then we've done an evaluation on the administrator.
I can tell you that in the past that over the years that Ray has done they've done evaluations. It's a real simple form he has.
Right, but it doesn't come to the board.
And I don't think, I think it should be available to the board when it comes to deciding how you want to do your budget and your.
Increase,
The
yeah.
board in the end has got to approve that anyway.
I think,
It's just a working document.
I think employee performance evals are important on a yearly basis, because if there are promotions, you can look at that kind of stuff and then it's documented. It's a paper trail. And then if we are talking about pay increases or 3%, 4%, whatever that is, we can I think that's important for us to look at.
Weren't
And it-
they
think it's
Done?
just, and I think it's
They're
a good
usually done in May,
opportunity,
and
yeah.
that's why I pulled up, that's when Lon brought it up, I looked at the old piece. I talked to Diane on them, Diane says, yeah, we done them in May. And she, sometimes the results is benefit, excuse me. They get different type of compensation for the next year. Based, puts in the budget process.
Well, I think it's important for the department heads to have a conference with, you know, hey, you're doing really great with this, this, and this. This is what I like, set goals too. It doesn't have, not all that stuff necessarily needs to come up to us, but I think it's important that we make sure that it's being done and documented.
That's why it's on the agenda, because that's another, if we're gonna go forward through, that's another
Mhm,
piece that I gotta get on my agenda.
mhm.
Okey dokey.
What I'm hearing, we'll start doing them.
Dwayne, I don't mean this personally to you or me, but any old business out there?
No, sir.
New business. Anything on the horizon? I think we covered quite a bit of new business.
That's
tonight.
what this is all about. Mhm.
Kiara, anything? Betsy?
Mm-mm.
Uh, Without objection, Eric, you have anything to throw in about that? Anything on the horizon you think this committee should?
Yes, I do, but I'm not sure if it's this committee that
Mm.
Right.
I would suggest that involves some strategically how Woodward is going to embrace its people that came over from the 10-year agreement. It's been 6 months since there's been any communication with those folks other than what I can draw from meetings. And there are decisions to be made, there's a strategy to come up with, and I just think one of the committees that's involved with planning on it, look at that from a strategic level about what are we going to do? Again, the only thing that people have seen are different waste management arrangements, which we're paying this year, also paying Saratoga last year. So without having, I mean, that's it. And we just haven't talked to that group. And the neighbors are getting a little bit restless at this point. So my hope is that we can get some group together, whether it's or somebody to come with what are we gonna do with those citizens at this point? Because right now, we're not communicating with them at all. And it hasn't come up in any meeting other than when something I would bring up.
Okay, comments? Alrighty,
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Scott, do you have something?
may I make a brief comment with regard to the police chief position?
uh, you have 10 seconds. Go ahead, chief.
Only wish to notify you that we are working on the potential of replacing that position. We're drafting ads and we're working with gathering research. And with the complete understanding that the organizational change may affect that position completely. We understand that. Just want to reiterate, if possible, if we could get at some point in the next few months, a salary range where you guys would like us to advertise for. That's all.
Okay, something like that though, before you send anything out, I think you should get board approval.
Yeah, we're not planning on doing anything. We're just doing some internal work right now. But of course, we always would work with FHR and Public Safety Committee before we do anything.
That would be great, because then, like, if, as you start drafting, me being nosy, I'm sure I'm gonna wanna come down to some of your PFC meetings and just be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, no problem.
They're
Okay,
used to
thanks,
flies on the
Scott.
wall.
Okay, so it's a big fly on the wall. Alrighty, agenda items for next meeting, if you have anything, please direct them to the chairman. And or to Dwayne, he can get them to Lon. It's just been such a pleasure. But I am going to call this meeting adjourned without objection at 5:41 PM.